Julien Beaumer, you're a race winner!
Yeah, I'm pretty speechless right now.
The legend has done it! Eli Tomac wins in San Diego again!
What up, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome to Title 24, starting it off right. Presented by NBC Sports. We got to thank our great sponsors, Quadlock, Boxo, United Motorsports, and Dunlop. Happy to be on today, dude. I'm pumped for this episode, just coming off of San Diego, Snapdragon RV. It was an epic race, not even for the, talking about 250, 450. Just this epic stuff that I wasn't expecting, but man, so I think your overall reaction before we get into the nuts and bolts. You watched it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was a great night of racing in both classes. The intensity, the pace was very high. We have Juju as his very first Supercross win.
Yeah.
Eli back up on the top step with one hell of a race with Jett. I thought the track turned out really well. We've been blessed with good weather this year so far, unlike last year.
Yeah.
And it was I got to watch watch the broadcast from my couch. It was a great night of racing. We're gonna dive into it here very shortly and dissect it. But no, all in all, I thought it was a hell of a night.
That's right. Hey, the Motorsports and NBC poll that we talked to you guys about last week, pretty cool. Go check that out. Remember, we navigated you guys through that. And then RV and I have been pumping it on our socials a little bit, but really excited. We got our second Title 24 live show coming up again. Pumped for that. It's going to be this Thursday. There's a link on our Instagram that you guys can click on. It'll take you. Make sure you get your tickets. It's limited. It's limited to how many people we have. But anyhow, go to title24liveshow.eventbrite.com to sign up and get your tickets. The locations at the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires in Rancho Cucamonga. $20 to join. Doors open at 5. Drinks, food, music, great conversation. Dungy, we got a special guest. Dungy's has committed to come. I know, I think Fro's coming, Tedesco's coming, maybe a couple others. So make sure you guys go now and get your tickets. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. RV and I, and again, our special guest. So we'll be ramping up for that. I think you guys are going to be stoked on what we have to offer. And then, of course, the stories. Everyone, I feel like RV had a great time last year. I expect it to be just as good, don't you think?
I do. Yeah, it's good. It's like to be a little reunion, getting us all back together, guys that have been retired for a handful of years and a bunch of bench racing.
Right. Yeah. So like RV said, dude, we got a really great show today coming up for you, and got a guest coming on that you guys are going to be stoked about. Nevertheless, let's get right into it. United Motorsports moment of the night. If you haven't, go check out United Motorsports. They're absolutely killing it, especially their online presence. Got everything that you need. UnitedMotorsports.com. Make sure you check them out. And dude, it's got to be the moment. United Motorsports moment of the night definitely has to be Eli Tomac's win. Dude, just what a ride. Not definitely, that's not a surprise, especially with how well he did at the opening round at A1, coming from a long ways back. But how he won was just cool, and just a race right down to the end, dude.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, we got to see Anaheim won. He put himself in a great position, but then laid the bike down. A week later, we're sitting down at San Diego and Snapdragon Stadium, and as that main event took off, obviously we were sitting pretty from a fan standpoint of being able to have Jett and Eli both up front, and man, we were able to watch. What I thought was most impressive was he wasn't waiting. As I think, Aaron, we have some replay of his pass right here on Jett ripping that sand on the outside. This is very, very soon within the first 2 laps of this main event, and Eli wasn't waiting. I thought that was what was most impressive. Yes, did he withstand the charge and the pressure of Jett the whole 20 minutes? He did, But I thought what was most, like I said, what was most impressive was Jett did the way he started off the first, call it 3 to 5 laps of that main event, was he was letting the race come to him. I felt like he wasn't doing anything too crazy. He wasn't pushing really hard, but then all of a sudden camera swoops back to Eli, and here comes Eli just rattling passes off. Each lap, maybe 2 riders per lap sometimes, and then gets to Jett and was able to take the outside in that sand and capitalize on that pass right away, which I feel like maybe Jett was a little caught off guard with Eli's intensity right out of the gate. Yeah. And I thought that set the tone for that main event, and he rode phenomenal that whole 20 minutes.
Dude, it's funny that you say that, RV, because that is one thing I want to go back, and we talked about it a little bit last year, where that intensity, it does look like Jett has got into a rhythm of letting the race come to him, and I think I can't speak for him, but I'd love to talk to him about this. It's almost like he's doing it on purpose so he doesn't go too crazy at the beginning and doesn't drop it, because, going back to his rookie season in 250, I think just knowing who he talks to and who his mentor is with Osho, it's like, hey, just like get your feet underneath you at the beginning and then start chopping away. But at the same time, while he's done that, which I agree that he should do that, but while he's done that, I feel like Eli has gotten really, really, really good at the beginning of the races. If he doesn't get the whole shot, dude, he has that intensity like you just explained. And he did it last week when he got back up from when he crashed and trying to get to the lead past Prado, where he didn't used to be like that, dude. And I think nowadays, with everybody being so close, you have to have that intensity like you saw there early on, dude.
Yep, I agree. I think it catches guys a little off guard. Obviously they're trying to feel the track out, feel what kind of grips, see where the track is, where you can push and things like that on those conditions. But just with Eli's setup, seems like it's working. It worked at Anaheim 1. His setup worked clearly. It worked great at San Diego, and he was able to push that limit earlier and than the rest of the guys. And I think that right there, he was able to pass 3 or 4 guys within the first couple laps of that main event, put himself in a position to go straight to the lead. And Jett, obviously retaliated, made the passes, got into second. Yeah. But then what I saw, really couldn't do a whole lot with it. Their speed was pretty close. I think maybe Jett had some good areas on the track. But Eli's strength was obviously the sand turn. And then guys figured that out, but his strength through the rest of that 20-minute main event was the turn before the whoops. I thought he was one of the only guys still running along the right side of the tough blocks and blitzing the whoops. Some of the other guys were blitzing and then dropping into the rut and then kind of wheel tapping and going through, which isn't a bad line, but I just feel like at the caliber of those riders, Eli was able to make that turn work and then blitz. Get up on the inside of some of those guys, and that was enough right there to maybe gain a 2/10 that maybe Jett got on the other part of the track that caught him by 2/10. Eli was able to stretch that 2/10 back out right there.
Yeah, he was. It was like a yo-yo, almost like exactly what you're saying. And I almost feel like if it was, well, it's twofold for both guys because they both be able to be just as aggressive. But where it was getting shiny and slick, I feel like, Jett was maybe a little bit more reserved and he just couldn't get after the throttle, maybe quite as good as Eli could. And maybe, and you know how it is, dude, it's just those little areas make a big difference when you're so close on time. And I feel like at the end of the day, that was probably what hindered Jett of trying to make a potential pass, especially late, because that moisture was coming up and it's going to get slicker and slicker and slicker as the night goes on. So, had there been a little bit more grip, maybe Jett would have had an opportunity to get back by. But nevertheless, dude, I would tell you, I mean, Eli did great. I mean, it doesn't look like he rode over his limit. I definitely think he was at his limit.
Yeah. I mean, like his level of where he was pushing, they could see the turn before the sand turn, that triple, he was going a little bit deep off of that triple almost every time. And he was just so hard on the gas, like when he would land. I just think those little areas there, He was able to gain just a smidge there. But also you go back, like you said, like Jett, I thought after the quad, Jett was he was running the inside there majority of the time over that.
That was
inside.
a better line, in my opinion.
And then Eli, you'd catch him on the outside, right? So maybe that was a spot where Jett could come in, catch him a 10th or 2 right there. But also those lines merge to the outside there. And typically if you go inside before the takeoff of the triple, it may push you wide on the landing of the triple a little bit. So it's just that yo-yo effect, like you said, but just wasn't enough to bridge that gap. And let alone, let's say if he would have bridged that gap, now was he going to be able to pass Eli, or was he? What would he have? Would he have to have forced Eli into a mistake to get past him? Because the track was fast. I wouldn't say it was so much one line, but everybody was on rails Saturday night.
Did you like that track?
I thought the track was pretty good. I actually did like it. I don't know. Like obviously we've heard some rumblings about the quad. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Was it too big? Would you want more of those? What I did like about the quad, as we're watching the replay right now, there was an option to go triple, single, and then up the inside. Very, very big jump. As you see Coop opting to go triple, single inside, Kenny going quad to the outside. And there's Jett going quad to the inside. So I don't know. I mean, it was a big, big jump. Ricky, you were there. You were able to see it. What did you think?
Well, that's what we were talking off here before we started to record the pod today. Everyone tuning in, listening, audio, or if you're on Peacock watching, dude, I'm not for quads, only because especially that one, dude. If they came up super short, or God forbid something went wrong, dude, it's not gonna end well. So that's where I think you can get technical with tracks and have options with tracks without it being that big. I did like how, you could, if you didn't want a quad, you could go triple and then go to the inside. I loved that. I loved how Jett had the option to go to the inside. I mean, there's Julien Beaumer. I mean, I don't ever know. I mean, I saw him do the quad, but he wasn't doing it very often, I don't believe, but he had some option there as well. Anyhow, going back to your original question, RV, I'm not for it. I think that the stakes are just too high. I know it's a mixed bag of answers. They talked to the riders at the press conference. I think Cooper Webb says, dude, it was scary. That sucks. You don't want to be racing scared like that. I think that there's other ways that they could get options without having to do a quad like that. Just because, dude, if you come up short at that level, or as big as that thing was in real life, dude, it's just going to be bad. But guys were sending it. Guys were definitely sending it. And as you know, it's much harder to do on the 250. I mean, you had to get that triple right, and if you didn't, then you had to abort and just go 3 single out. But I'm not for it. Hey, back to that Tomac Lawrence battle really quick. Cody Simmons 23. This is a good question. Who golds the confidence in the 450 class? Jett hung with ET on new bike, or ET winning straight up? Who do you think leaving that race, who do you think gained the most out of that epic battle?
That's a tough question, because obviously we heard some rumblings of after A1 and maybe Jett's bike not being on point to where he wants it to let him ride the way in the speed he wants to ride. And then obviously coming out San Diego, they made some changes. He definitely rode better than Anaheim 1. So I think he gained some confidence there, but I think the biggest confidence builder was obviously Eli winning, right? I think Eli
really,
I think it's the confidence right now is in Eli's favor. And why I say that is to me, that was the first time that Eli and Jett have gone head to head with call it no injuries. Eli coming off of, a thumb or this, or, not having a ton of time on the bike before SMX last year. This was a true head to head event that those two riders were able to ride to their best of the abilities that they have. And from what I saw, leaving there for me, knowing that, okay, I first of all, I started behind him, was able to make the pass and then hold him for 20 plus minutes. They yo-yoed a little bit, but it wasn't like Jett was just putting him under tremendous amounts of pressure. He had a little bit of a breather between them most of that race. So I think leaving San Diego, I would, if I'm Eli, I'd be stoked kind of where I sit.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go back to, and I was going to wait to tell this story a little bit later. That I texted this to our group here yesterday, but that when I was flying home yesterday, dude, that race reminded me so much of Anaheim 2001 with me and MC. A couple different things. I think that MC may have been up front first, so I wasn't up front, and he didn't pass. He didn't like how Eli passed Jett. I think I had to play catch up, and then I passed MC. Remember, we collided, and then he passed me back. I kind of like went up the top of the berm, and he went up underneath, and I just didn't want to get creamed because I thought he was going to pay me back, which he didn't. Anyhow, but the reason that I thought it was so similar is because then like the last 7 or 8 laps, I was able to just follow him. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I wanted to try to get back by him, but I knew that if I was going to do that, I was going to have to ride a little bit harder than I probably wanted to, or should have. Mm-hmm. So I just was like, this is kind of what I got. If I push it, I could probably get by, but I almost like was just kind of dissecting everything that he was doing and using it towards my advantage for the future. And thinking like, okay, dude, he's doing this really, really well. And like, look where his bike is like really, really performing good. And I'm like, okay, well, my bike's a little bit better over here, but it needs to be better here. And I need to be better in this certain spot. But at the end of the day, I had realized like I could see that he was maxed out. And like those last 4 laps, he was starting to lose a little bit of strength. So I'm like, okay, I know I got him for 20 laps, but he's better over in these certain areas. But, and I felt like it was almost like that. I do think that Eli was better for sure compared to that race that I'm explaining to everyone.
Yep.
But I believe from a standpoint of where the bike needs to be and learning from a veteran like Eli, I think that Jett gained more because of what possibly he could have learned for himself moving forward. Because if you think about it, I don't feel like he's ever been in that spot, where you just dogged a dude, someone like Eli. I mean, he knows how Chase is. He knows where Chase is good, right? He knows Chase's downfalls and challenges, where I don't know that him and Eli have ever battled like that. And I'm sure they had to some extent, but that many laps where he just was all up his tail.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think, that the question is by watching Eli, I guess what I look at is I feel like Eli was, if not on the limit, he was right there. Just the way he was riding, he was pushing for that win. Now, the question for me is like, Jett being that the way he rides, he's obviously more smooth. He's a bit smoother. His technique is more of that new age technique. I consider Eli. Eli's one of the last of the Mohicans like myself and you, Ricky, where you really push and send and overshoot things and ride kind of the way we used to ride. Eli's kind of the last one of that, in my opinion, and Deegan a little bit too. But Eli in the 450 was going to be the last kind of the one of that. Well, the question is did Jett have more in the tank? Was he, to your point, was he okay with riding behind him? And if Eli made a mistake and okay, great, I'll scoop up the win. But did he buy his time back there for a reason? And did he have more in the tank? I don't know.
Well, I will tell you this. So like that second place that I got in 2001, I didn't care because I knew everything that I had learned in that race. RV, I knew like, okay, I'm going to pay that forward. And and then that was MC's last race. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen now, but I just learned so much here that I was pumped with that second place. And I feel like, Jett, I talked to Jett via text and he was like, dude, it was an awesome race. It was tough. But he says, if I'm going to get second, that was a great one to get second at. We learned a lot, both with the bike, myself, and it was just an incredible race. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I will say this, though, and I really studied Jett this weekend, RV, before we move on. And I just feel like Jett is in a place to where he can't push that bike to where he probably needs to, like Eli pushes that Star Yamaha, like Chase pushes that Red Bull KTM, and even like how Anderson can push on his Cowie and how Kenny can. I feel like he's kind of like stuck, because when he goes to push it a little bit harder than he would like to, that's where I feel like the bike starts acting weird when I watch him. I could be completely wrong about my analysis, but when I was watching him, it looked like at times, especially in time qualifying, he wanted to go faster and the bike just wouldn't give it to him. I mean, I think the bike's good enough to win for sure. I think it's good, but I feel that that's where he's at. It's like, I watched it a couple of times. I'm like, he just can't push it. Did you ever see that or no?
Do you think it's more of obviously it's a suspension chassis, more up that line? It's obviously not the engine package, right? It's suspension chassis. We were out racing yesterday out at Paula for a Moto for Kids race. So I was out all day yesterday, and then same with Saturday. We rode practice at Paula, so I didn't get to watch time practice. Do you think it's more of a suspension and chassis where it's almost like, being Eli is more of our generation, where I know how I set my bike up. I set that sucker up pretty damn stiff for the potential mistake of maybe going deep in the rhythm section or overshooting this section of the track where it has that hold up. Now, it doesn't maybe work the best on the rest of the track.
Right.
But I would manage that. I know you would manage that too.
Yeah.
So is he in a situation where he's trying to find that exactly happy medium where it's like, oh, it's nice and plush over here. I got good traction on the hard pack and the blue groove stuff, but it's got enough hold up in the rhythm sections. If I'm perfect,
right.
If I don't go deep, if I don't hang a wheel, that to me, what I'm hearing you say is maybe that's a little bit of the issue. But I obviously don't know. I haven't rode the bike.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't rode the bike either. Is it more chassis related or suspension related? I'm sure it's probably a little bit of both. Like, is he setting his suspension up as a Band-Aid to make the shortcomings from the chassis? Is that kind of what you're saying, or like vice versa?
Yeah. Is it maybe just a little too soft to get the feeling that he wants, but then when he's pushing that trying to run with, say, Eli's pace, where like I said earlier in the show, that triple before the sand, Eli was his front wheel was almost landing on the flat, so you could see that he was going 3 or 4 feet longer on that jump, deeper down the landing, and his bike was able to hold it up still. So essentially through the rhythm sections and through the straightaway stuff, you're able to push that much harder, but you're going to give up on the hard pack stuff, right? Like you're going to have to be more conscious, more aware of that. Hey, in these in these flat turns, or where it's shiny, or where it's blue groove, I'm going to have to give up a little bit there, or make do with what I have. But I can charge to the rhythm sections harder. I can hit the whoops harder. I'm not worried about it so much on the rest of the track. It's just the hard pack spot.
Yep. Too. I think that they're probably somewhere in there. Yep, absolutely. And that, obviously I wouldn't want to share that with anybody. I don't think you would want to share that with anybody. And I'm not, it doesn't matter to me. I don't think, as far as that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really care to know, which one it is, because they'll fix it.
Yep.
I think, moving on to the Dunlop debate. So if you haven't, go check out Dunlop. Got some good stuff. I'm no scoop tires yet. No,
I haven't seen those.
No, not yet. But Daytona Supercross is just around the corner, so we'll see what happens. I bet they have the scoop for that. Oh, ET will be riding that scoop. Motorsports and NBC poll. Which record is most impressive? RV, you need to pick one. I picked one. So here's the options. Jeremy McGrath, 72 Supercross wins. Eli Tomac, 11 straight seasons with a Supercross win. My 31 straight motocross moto wins. You could we gave you an option to write your own.
Yep.
Notables. Your 4 straight Supercross titles. McGrath had the same. Kevin Windham, at least 1 win in 3 different decades. And then, dude, think of that. 3 different decades. 10 straight outdoor championships for me. And then Reedy's 386 starts. What do you think's the most? So hold up before you answer. I'll tell you what mine was.
Yep.
So I went to Eli's 11 straight season wins. Like 11 seasons he's gotten a win in each season. And my comment was I think because 11 straight seasons he's gotten a win, and arguably against the deepest field of competitors that have an opportunity to win compared to some of the other generations. I think that arguably there's way more guys that have an opportunity to and can legitimately win a Supercross, certainly compared to my day. I would even say in your early days, there's probably 3 guys that had a legit shot of beating someone like you. You're one of the best to ever do it. That's why I picked Eli's, because it's incredible what he's been able to do against the depth of talent that he's been able to do it against.
Yeah, and 11, like you said, 11 straight seasons. Like that's 11 years he's able to pull off at least 1 win or more, right, throughout the seasons. And these 8 are really heavy hitters here, right? Because I'm going to break it down for MC, for example, to win 72 in his career. Still a record that probably I don't see getting beat. Here anytime soon. Eli, once again, 11 straight wins or 11 wins, a win every season for 11 years. Obviously 31 straight for motocross, right? These are massive numbers when we talk about this. So it's really hard for me to sit down and look and pick, myself and MC with 4, Kevin going three different decades, Chad with 386 starts. But I would say, MC or yourself for question 1, right? 72 or 31 straight motocross wins, like to be able to string on that many wins in your career, let alone yours in just, you went 24-0 twice, right? So those are some huge accomplishments. So if I had to pick one, probably be MC or yourself, not taking anything away from Eli. And then if we go down to the notables, I think I was always good buddies with Kevin, always used to start next to him. So to be able to win, in 3 different decades, that's pretty gnarly. That's really cool to see.
Well, exactly. And it goes similar to kind of like what I was talking about Eli's, 11 consecutive seasons he's been able to bag a win. But you go back, think of the progression from K-Dub, right?
Yeah.
2-stroke, steel chassis, 4-stroke, aluminum chassis against a wide variety of competitors, right?
Yep.
You name it. Some of the best in the business to ever do it. So that absolutely, I would agree with you on the K-Dub stat. But dude, yep. I think for yourself, and obviously we all can't turn the clock, but you got 4 in a row. Had you not got hurt, I mean, you're looking at least 5.
Yeah.
Intents and purposes, I'm gonna blow you up right here as far in a positive way and say, like, dude, you're gonna get it. Like, you're gonna be 5-time champ. If you don't.
Yeah, I think there was a very good shot of me winning more, winning more championships. That's at this point, that's horseshoes and hand grenades. Right? So, it's good to. I like looking at all of this past stuff. Like I dig all the older, the history, call it, of the sport. MC, yourself, Eli making his way into that. The history books. Kevin, like I said. So, there's only a handful of us that even make it on that list. So, and it's kind of funny, Bricky, me and me, we're on 2 of these lists.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
We did all right. We got lucky a few times. RV, dude, we're only two Supercrosses down. the SMX 2025. I'm like almost tired of listening to and talking about Jett's bike problems. I don't think it's as bad as what we think it is. Do I think that they were off in Anaheim? Of course I do. Will had an awesome interview with Lars after the race this weekend, and Lars was super candid, but like I think he was honest and to the point. And he just basically said how, you know, he's glad that everyone was like panicking and had all this concern about the bike setup, because they did all of the worrying for us. Like basically they weren't worried. And you know what? And you know what he said, dude, that was really resonated with me. And I talked a little bit about it on the post show. Is he said that the boys, I think, might have been going back, or they were going to do some motos here in Florida this week. And, you know, like I guess they haven't been doing much of that. So they'll go back, get that muscle memory, and they'll spend more just solid raw laps on the bike, and they'll know where the bike and know exactly what the bike is doing, where it performs well, where it doesn't perform well. You already spoke about this as far as, you know, is it a suspension or chassis deal? And they'll adjust their riding to what, you know, to where it performs well and where it doesn't, and they know how to adapt. And when Lars told me that, I'm like, dude, that is similar to like how I rode when my 03 Honda wasn't great. And looking back on my career, that's that's how I did my whole deal. Like that's why I did so many laps. I knew exactly for the most part what my bike was going to do and how it was going to react in every single situation. And a lot of that is because, yes, did I ride too much during the week? Of course I did, but that's how in tune I was with my motorcycle. And I tend to agree with Lars on that, dude.
Yep. Yeah. You have to have those base laps put in. And obviously we saw, and we talked about this on the pre-show of like Title 24 coming back on online, was obviously Chase opted not to do any overseas races. Eli did. It seemed to work into his benefit, and also you had Hunter and Jett doing the overseas races. And we talked about, you know, what is going to work better for each of these athletes: staying home, putting in the work, or, you know, going and getting the gate drops, the racing, because there's a bunch of good things that come from race scenarios. But as you know, and we talked about it, like the travel, flying to Europe, flying down under to Australia to race those World Supercross rounds, like that eats massive chunks out of your weeks leading into these seasons for exactly what you were talking about, just time on the motorcycle, not testing, not anything other than repetition. So you lose a little bit, you lose, and people are like, oh, you got 6, 8, 10 weeks. Yeah, but when you break it down and you can ride, you know, basically 3 to 4 days a week, and that's if you don't maybe get a sniffle, or tweak a foot or a toe or whatever the case may be, where you're managing these other things from your body standpoint. Like now, okay, well, hey, we got to take today off because you're tired, or you got to take today off because this is a little bit sore. Well, it starts to eat away, and pretty soon you're like, holy cow, we're 4 weeks out, we're 3 weeks out, we're 2 weeks out, and you can only cram so much of that repetition in, because you got testing, and you got to stay fit, you got to stay healthy, and you have to also, coming into Anaheim 1, you got to kind of taper off so that you can build your body back up for that, for this long season.
Yep, 100%. Boxo breakdown. If you haven't checked out boxousa.com, go check it out. I can tell you right now, they absolutely killed it on your setup, their OSM setup. Right, dude, their OSM setup for garages and the options that you have, dude, and how easy it is to assemble is really cool. Go online and check it out, boxousa.com. We appreciate you guys and the support. 3rd year strong, rolling with us. Go check them out. But the Boxo breakdown, and listen, I said it on the broadcast, but I want you to break it down. It would be Chase Sexton. He doesn't jump the triple and almost gets landed on. Not really sure why he didn't jump the triple, but you're going to see right here. He's going to go inside and look at, wow, dude, that's so, Yeah, I don't know why he didn't do it, but it's because see right here, it's like he's not going to hit Stu, he's not going to hit Jett, and then like I don't know, did he lose grip? I'm not really sure. He said he was. He's like I don't know, dude. What he like? Walk us through this. Did he mess up there? Like
looking at it, yes. The three of the riders in front of him jumped the triple. Mookie was the one that he was right behind, and Mook jumped the triple. So at that point, the question is why didn't he jump it? Yes, he was on the inside there, and he looks left as Ferrandis is coming down the right side. Like that could have been a very, very, I mean, unbelievably sketchy situation when it comes to, obviously look at Ferrandis. He's like, oh, where's he going? And Chase looks left as Ferrandis lands right next to him. I mean, there couldn't have been more than 15 inches between those guys, if not closer than that. Then you got Eli wondering what's happening too.
Hey, mad props to Dylan Ferrandis, dude, for doing everything you could do to get off that and not hurt yourself or land on Chase Sexton. I'm glad that they are all safe, dude. That could have been so bad for a lot of people.
Totally. I mean, it was looking at it like, obviously those are the scenarios that you go back and you run through your mind of what if this would have just changed, or what if I was 12 inches over to the right? What would have been the repercussions of that? I don't understand, because Mook had no problem jumping that triple. So for me, I felt like Chase just should have followed suit right there behind him. Ferrandis would have followed suit behind Chase. But yeah, interesting that he opted not to jump. Obviously, very, very, very like sketchy situation. And then as we see, he makes the right. And then he ends up dumping it over in the turn as he goes in.
Walk us through.
Right here as he goes in, just dabs his foot. Bragg gets the foot back. AP didn't touch him. Nobody touched him. It was totally Chase's, call it fault. It was his mistake that Chase made. Dabbed the foot.
Unforced error.
Yep. You know, and like those are the things that I'm sorry, Chase, but we have to bring it up because number one, we all saw it. It was on the broadcast. We have the replays now. Is those mistakes? You can't afford to make those mistakes in this class. You know, I can understand. I could understand or see the situation if somebody came up underneath of him and bumped into him, or they got tangled up. But that was he drug his foot, didn't get it up off the ground, and it pulled that foot behind him, and then he just laid it over, which that set the tone for the entire race, right? Like you go back to Anaheim 1. He stalled it, you know, like, and now we're at San Diego round 2, and that little mistake, like that's 2 mistakes in 2 weekends.
I didn't think of that. Yeah. If you take, even though he had the incredible ride and the win at Anaheim, like I didn't even consider that. So now it's 2 weekends.
Yep.
You're looking down and you're dissecting everything. 2, costly mistakes.
Costly. I mean, obviously Anaheim 1 didn't cost him any points. He was able to still amazing ride. But that in my eyes, that's a mistake, right? Like that was a big mistake.
The one you got away with.
The one he got away with is still a massive mistake. And because if Eli wouldn't have fallen, if things would have, if you had had a couple different riders in couple different positions, I don't think he would have had the lead per se on somebody like Eli or Jett, so then he salvaged that. Good on him there. But then we come to San Diego and another mistake. Like, there's a lot of racing left. And if you're going to be giving up that many points, as we're watching the replay again, comes in, just dabs his foot, gets it behind him, and then he can't keep going.
Yeah, if you go watch why he dabs, like play that one more time, Aaron. It looks to me like he cracks the throttle just a little too early.
And it gets away from him.
It goes outside of the rut. Watch right there. See, and then you can it's tough.
So it's I mean, we can sit here. Yeah, we can sit here and dissect it all we want, but that's an area that those little mistakes have hurt Chase, in certain races, maybe not in the whole championship standpoint, but if you're racing against the field, we're racing against right now with Jett, Hunter, Chase, Anderson, like you can't afford Coop. You can't afford those mistakes.
Nope. There you go. Look how tight the points are now, dude. I mean, basically from all the way down through Coop and even Jett for that. I mean, I wouldn't want to be 10 points down behind Tomes after after 2 rounds, but dude, that's virtually, it's all zero for the most part. Wouldn't you say?
Chase sits 1 point down, Kenny sits 2 points down, Cooper sits 4 points down, and then you got run into Jett sitting 10 points down, Barsha 12, Anderson 13, Hunter 14, Mookie 15, and Justin Cooper 16 points down after round 2. So yeah, very 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 tight point situation leading into Anaheim 2.
Yeah. Any other thoughts as far as surprises in the 450 before we get down to the 250 class? Like, I mean, for me, just to set it up, and maybe you can expand on it. I thought Coop did a great job, knowing now that he was,
I saw that.
Spewing from both ends. That was a hell of a performance. Hunter Lawrence wasn't even sure if he was going to race. He didn't do opening ceremonies or anything like that.
Wow.
So that was a hell of a race for Hunter. Kenny did great as well. Not sure what happened to Anderson. Malcolm had a good comeback ride after that gnarly get off. Prado goes through. I thought, considering the guys that were sick and maybe didn't have a great race and Anaheim won, I thought they did fabulous, dude. Like, that's my takeaways.
Yep. And you got to, Coop, for example, like, I've never considered him, like leaving, I consider him coming into the fight after we leave the West Coast swing, right? Like, it seems like in the past he's so heavy, the way he rides motorcycle, he's so heavy on the front brake. So like, that's been one of his assets, is to be able to turn underneath of guys when the track gets beat up, gets tore up. Like, he's able to find new lines underneath. But obviously West Coast style, West Coast dirt, it's you got to be a little easier on the front brake. So, and dealing with a sickness, dealing that he was sick. We didn't know this leading into the weekend. We knew this afterwards. That was a good performance too. But I consider him, or I see him coming on stronger once we leave the West Coast swing. But you can't get salvage, or you can't give up a ton of points as we sit on the West Coast right now, because with this field, it's going to be very hard to make up points.
So you think, then basically what I'm taking from that is, like, you think that Coop is ahead of schedule from a points perspective right now?
I mean, going off of what I've seen in the past, right? Like, just going off of previous track records. Yeah, I think he is riding well. He's a little ahead of schedule, and same as Eli, though. Eli hasn't typically started his West Coast swing super awesome. And then they come on, right? Like, we've talked about it before. Eldon wouldn't say our series starts at Daytona. Our series starts at Daytona. If we can be within, 3 to 5 points at Daytona, then now we're on it, or a points lead, right? So I think that started with you, Ricky. That started with you and Eldon. That thought process, and I still think that is the way it is, right? You got to
give me that points lead by Daytona, and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to overcome.
Exactly. That. Yeah. Exactly.
There's another look. Dude, it's just so close. Like, I don't even, like, when I look from 1 to 4, I like, that's zero. That's zero to me. Especially first to third. 10 is a little bit. Especially against guys like Sexton and Eli, 10 points behind those guys for Jett. But so he's got some work to do. And I think it's cool to be able to see. Obviously, as we're looking 10 points down, I left Anaheim 1. I think there was a poll or a stat that they showed a whole montage of it, dude. It was pretty cool feature.
Exactly. Yeah. Myself leaving Anaheim 1 with down 16 points. I think you were down. I think you were down the most.
I only got 1 point.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you were down 20 odd points or something, and coming back to be able to win. So it's early. It makes for great bench racing, right? For us and our show and the rest of the shows that are in our industry.
Hey, RV, dude, like, when I got hurt, or when I crashed at A1 in 2002, dude, after that, because then I was hurt. So then like the next weekend was San Diego. I'm like, well, dude, I like my arm, my wrist was hurting me, and I cracked a little bone in my wrist. And so like I was just trying to just go there and do the best that I could. And at that point, I had no expectation on winning the championship. And then like a race or two later, I started to win, started building momentum. But then like Villopoto was like second. I'm like, damn, I'm never gonna be able to make up these points on this dude. And then he got me at Indy, and then I got some points back. But like then he got hurt before Daytona, and then I was like, oh, like, oh, now I have to really focus on winning and not coughing up any points. But I kind of got a gift. And I had no anticipation on winning the championship after I went down and hurt myself at Anaheim. Like I was like, there's no shot, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot, but as you know, anything can happen, especially in today's racing, to your point of like how many different winners that we have on the line today. Versus what you had on the line versus what I had on the line. It is easier now to make up points. If you're sitting 10 points down and you have that stacked field that we have and the riders that are capable of winning, you know, a couple, if Eli gets falters on the start, right, and starts say 8th, 9th, and then you have a bunch of those top guys up front, you know, ripping through the pack is a lot harder than it seems. So, you know, if you know, you have a guy that wins and he's sitting 10 points down, and then all of a sudden Eli's 8th, well, boom, now you're within 3 or 4, you know, 2 or 3 points. You know, guys that get second every weekend and then get a win, and vice versa, like me and Dunge did, going back and forth. I knew that dude was going to be second every time. Well, now I'm only at a 3-point gap. You know, it takes a long time to build up points or to gain.
Yeah. Yep. 120%, dude. Like, it's almost double-edged though. And before we go, got something special coming for you guys, but I want to put a bow on this. It's almost a double-edged sword. So like you talked about, it's harder to make up points these days, or no, easier to make up points these days. I almost think it's harder, because didn't you say it's harder, or did you say it's easier? Sorry.
Well, I think it's in today's world, being that the field's so steep, right? And if you put yourself in a good position, like, and you know, myself, we had Dunge and myself, and I knew every single weekend Dunge, if I didn't win, Dunge was winning, and vice versa, he would be second, right? And that's
okay. Yeah. See, that's where I feel like you can't do that. This now, it's like 10 times. It was hard. It was easier. It was almost in a way, it was easier to, I guess, minimize the damage in our day. Whereas, like you said it perfectly, if you got a dead last start and Dunge was first, you at least knew that you were going to get second. You weren't going to get fifth. Where it's not like that now.
Yep.
So it's like, if you get a dead last start, Eli's probably going to win. Chase is probably going to win. Kenny might win. Anderson might win. You know, so you're at least looking at fifth, right? Yep. So that's tough. So anyhow, I don't know.
Yep. No, I agree.
It's interesting. It's just, and it's still, like you said, dude, it's still early in the series, especially for those 450 guys. I think one of the most incredible rides outside of Eli's awesome performance was Julien Beaumer. Absolute epic ride, locking down his first win in his professional career. Doesn't come as a surprise, especially how well he rode all weekend long in Anaheim, how well he was riding through qualifying practice, great heat race. But nevertheless, super stoked to have him on Title 24 with you and I, RV. So let's bring in this week's winner, the 250 West Division at Snapdragon Stadium, Julien Beaumer. Yeah, guy, what's up? Congratulations.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. So how's it feel to get your first one out of the way?
Yeah, it feels good to get that one out of the way. I think like the last 5 laps felt like they took forever, but no, it was definitely exciting to get that one out of the way, and I'm looking forward to having this feeling a little more often.
Dude, real quick, so like, and it's kind of a loaded question, and if it's like too much, you don't even have to answer it, but like, where did the difference come from And was there a moment in the off season, whether you were at the test track or wherever it was, to where you are riding as comfortable and as flawless as you are now? Like, was it like December? Was it November? Was there a time where you're like, oh, like I'm firing right now?
I'd say it was probably beginning middle of November. I had a really good start to boot camp, and we found a setup pretty early into the off season. So that was like the biggest thing for me, and I could just ride and do my laps. And I think it was like when there was one day, I think I told you about this already, Ricky. There was one day we had a 20-minute moto or we had a 15+1 actually. And I was clicking off laps like really good. And I'd say 15-minute mark, they gave me 1 lap left. I kept going. 20-minute mark, they gave me 1 lap left, kept going. And I think I got 35 laps and pulled off because I didn't want to run out of gas. But there was like, I made it 28 minutes it was. So it was like, and Davey came back, he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I just felt good. Like, I didn't really want to stop. And that was the thing for me where it was just like, I feel like I have that now to where I can just go and not have it bother me.
Yeah, it's I was at Anaheim 1, got to watch. I was actually there all day, got to watch time qualifying, heat races, main events. I would say your 250 career has been obviously very accelerated, right? I can remember Futures. I think you were riding, maybe it was a Yamaha, maybe for EBR. Was it EBR Yamaha?
Futures, I was on my own. I just had my own
Okay.
deal. I was on EBR but I was running my own deal at.
Okay, yeah. So you were there. I think I remember you catching the triple. Your bars actually went down, I think, right? Was that you? On the far side of the track. But regardless, nonetheless, you have been on an accelerated program, right? Wasn't this big amateur phenom, and then boom, you're at the stage, you're at Futures, riding really well. Then you get the KTM ride. You put in some strong rides last year. And then what I saw at Anaheim 1 for time qualifying, and obviously we all watched the Deegan show this past year and his great races that he's had. But then you were putting it on the board. You guys were fighting for tenths, and here goes Juju to the top. Here comes Deegan to the top. Here goes back to Haiden. That to me right there is what I was like, holy shit, now you're in the game. Like you're here. It's going to be real, because from what I've noticed in the past of your racing is you handle pressure very well, and your starts are pretty damn good too. So it was just getting a few of those other pieces of the puzzle put into place. And I feel like you have that now, and you're riding phenomenal. What is your opinion, or how do you take and look for each weekend? And obviously Hayden's up here, meaning like he's the past champ, outdoor champ. I feel like you're SMX champ. Yeah. Like you're nipping at his heels now. Did you expect that?
Yeah, I think I expected to have the speed right away. I knew I could go the same speed as him. That wasn't something that I was too worried about. For me, it was putting all the pieces together. And obviously we have Ryder D training with us now, and we worked a lot in the off season on just having patience when we're behind. If I start behind him, just don't force anything. Don't try to make the move too quick, and wait for a mistake to happen. And that was something Davey and Frankie really instilled in me this off season, was to just be patient, wait for it to come to you. And that's what I've been trying to do lately, is just, even in the heat race, I didn't get a great start, and just be patient. Don't try to force your way to the front. Let everything come to you, and let the race come to you, and not try to focus too much on, oh, I need to be here, when we can just focus on, all right, let's pick this person off, keep picking people off, and we'll be there at some point.
That's an incredible game plan for sure. I agree with it, especially, I mean, RV, you know how key that is in the 450 class, just because the race is a little bit longer, and sometimes guys, they make mistakes, especially when you're pressuring them. And then you were like this weekend, for example, you would think, because he's a rookie, that Cole would have made some mistakes just being in that position. I mean, dude, you were a rookie at one stage. It's like nerve-wracking. It's so hard to only focus on yourself, rather as when you're at A1, a dude like Joe is less likely to make a mistake because he has so much experience. And I like that. We froze up, RV.
We did. I see that. We got a good shot at Juju though.
That's right.
It's a credential
right.
shot.
That's right. I do feel like it was almost similar to last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you watch it and stuff. And I think that Will was doing a report, it talked to Davey and all that stuff. And he felt like he should have passed a little bit quicker, tried to pass a little bit quicker on Joe. And I agree with that.
Yeah. A1. Yeah. For sure. And I think we're just like watching, like I said, Juju after time qualifying, he's a little pit bull. He's got the fight in him. And I also think that he's in a different position than a lot of riders because there was no big amateur lead up, right? Like he emerged on the scene and you're like, who's this dude? So, I mean, that's how I was. I'm like, who's this Juju, kid?
Yeah, dude. I was the same, because when you're not immersed in the amateur scene, you know what I mean? And now that you are, you're going to be knowing all these kids. So when you see the SMX next class, now you're going to be like, oh yeah, dude, I watched this guy at freaking, this qualifier, that qualifier. He's a diamond in the rough.
Exactly. So
but that's the thing. His story is incredible, dude. Like, he was just talking about it. Like, you thought he was on a team. He's like, no, dude, I was on my own. And then I think he came and tried out for the Star program at one stage. I don't know if he comes back on. And then I don't know if that worked out. And then I think Daniel Blair got him on the Red Bull KTM program, or whatever their amateur program is, and then he's off to the races. And that was a good find,
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, and I said this earlier too, guys like we use Haiden and Jett, right? Like, they set the bar. Everybody that's second to all the way back to your 22nd place guy. Those dudes all know where the bar's set, right? And guys like Haiden and guys like Jett, like, it's hard to raise that bar when you don't kind of know where to raise it to, and guys like Juju and guys like Eli, they know where they need to go. It's the roadmap's already been put in place. So I think that's what's really cool to see is guys in the 250 class or the 450 class bridging that gap.
Yeah, we're building you up, Juju. But one thing you got to do with that bonus money, that number one bonus money guy, you need to get you some better Wi-Fi.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi. I don't know what's going on. It might be because my TV was on downstairs. I just had them turn it off. So
I like the jacket though. I like the jacket. That was pretty steezy.
My jacket was definitely. I tried to come in. I think everyone was going to come into A1 with a little bit. Obviously, Haiden had his Rolex on, so I was trying to. I had to join the crew there.
Hey, real quick, dude. We were talking when you're getting everything sorted out. Did you, your SMX Next appearance, you were on your own, doing your own deal. Then Daniel Blair kind of scouted you out. But before that, didn't you tell me that you did a Star tryout or something?
Yeah, I did. Right after Mini O's, I rode pretty good at Mini O's. I was supposed to race outdoors, but I crashed last day in Supercross with Janik and jacked up my wrist. So I went home. I rested for I don't know, I'd say a week, and I went to Star that next week, and I rode for 2 days there, and then nothing really happened. I went back home, got back to work, and then at Futures, I qualified first at the SMX Next at A2.
Yeah,
and they had called me then as well, and I went to the semi, and they offered me that same tryout deal, like the 6 month. That deal, they offered me that, but I said, all right, let's wait. And then I'd got an offer from KTM that week, and I went with that.
Perfect, dude. That's an incredible story. I remember DB telling me, he's like, dude, I'm gonna get this guy, and he was like, he was praising you, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch this guy, and really hone in on him. And dude, it worked out well. Well for you for sure. So So you get your first win. Was it what you expected? Was it not what you expected? Were you expecting something different? Like what? Tell us what that feeling was like.
I think I didn't expect it to come this early on in the season. I think I expected to be on the podium, be there, and then
Oh,
Man.
damn. Come on, Julian.
Jeez.
Slacking, dude. We got to send. Hey,
We need to call.
We got a
on and-
GoFundMe page. We got a GoFundMe page for Juju's
Can we-
Wi-Fi setup.
Can we get Elon on the phone and have him bump up the power over there wherever he's at?
That's right, dude. We're gonna bring him in for a third time because he says he switched Wi-Fi. I wonder if he called Elon and like, dude, all right, Juju, where are you at now, guy? This is awesome.
I think the Wi-Fi is back. We're adding a little bit of extra drama into this. Just trying to let the Wi-Fi.
Perfect.
We'll get it sorted. So you talked about your story in your timeline of you after the mini O's, you did a tryout with Star, and then you also talked about after that you came back home, did your own deal, did SMX next, and then you were P1 in practice, and Star came and gave you an offer. You didn't sign it, and then the next weekend you signed your deal with KTM, and then from that point on, it just right.
Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely it really took off from there. I think the biggest thing was before I hired Davey that January of Futures, I really I trained on the bike, but I'd never done anything off the bike at all. I wasn't cycling. I wasn't doing anything. So that was like the biggest thing for me was getting into that program of doing everything every day and the repetitiveness of it. And I think I struggled a little bit just trying to build that base last year. I didn't have from going from not training to training. I wasn't able to build that base that I feel like everyone else had from training for so many years. And I think that was one of the biggest things this offseason that changed.
Do you what was the biggest challenge, do you think, like after your first year last year? Because I mean, I think there was some expectation there for sure. And because especially coming after how well you did at A1, and you were a rookie, so like how you did at A1, and just because you didn't get on the box, like I still felt like it was a great ride. I'm like, okay, dude, this kid's he's on it. And then like, where do you think the challenge came in after A1 last year? Like, were you like, oh crap, like I wasn't expecting this?
I think those two mud races really just ruined a lot of my confidence. I mean, it's not a secret I'm not great in mud. I live in the middle of nowhere in the desert, so we don't get much rain. And San Francisco wasn't terrible. Like I think I got 11th that night. It wasn't. I mean, I crashed probably 8 times, but it wasn't like that bad. But that race was also survival. It was probably one of the gnarliest mud races I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was brutal.
San Diego wasn't as bad of mud, but I just struggled there, and that was really when I was like, that wasn't great. And then I felt like I got back going a little bit at Anaheim too. I got a 5th in the last Triple Crown main event that night, and I thought I had it back going. And then that week before Glendale, I was riding a track and it was pretty windy, and I came up short on the triple and fractured 2 ribs. And that was like, after that, I had nothing left. I couldn't. In the main event at Glendale, I rode really good. I think I worked my way up to like 4th or 5th, and then I just couldn't hang on anymore. And I felt like that was my biggest struggle, was I was having little things and little crashes that just shouldn't have been happening.
Got it. I wondered about that. That's where it's like, and then you did well at some of the SMX rounds though. Like, like you started to come alive. What was it? Was it Charlotte?
Charlotte. Yeah, I did really good there. I felt like I had those 3 weeks in between outdoors and SMX where, same as this off season, I rode really good in those 3 weeks, and I came in and I was like, if I can just execute how I want to execute, then it'll be good. And I still felt my starts were really good that night. I got both hole shots in both motos, and that was good, but I still felt like my riding wasn't quite where I was at the test track yet. And that's the biggest thing that changed this offseason. Well, I feel like I got so used to having that feeling that I have at the test track that it's like if I'm not riding like that, something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, as is coming in, riding for a factory team and you get so many laps at these test tracks, you know it like the back of your hand. And then you get to the Supercross races or the weekends, and obviously the tracks are different, the conditions are different. I know what Corona's like. I've been to your guys' track. I know exactly how it is. And it's not much different every single day, right? So then you come out and you get on these ones, maybe it's tacky, maybe it's slippery, maybe it's hard packed, maybe it's got ruts in it, and then obviously you have all the nerves of the day, time qualifying, main events, heat races, all of that, and sometimes just getting what you have during the week and executing that on the weekend. And sometimes it takes guys a lot longer. I personally think going off of your start to your season, this current season to last year, like it takes a little bit of time. I wouldn't think it didn't take you very long, put it that way. Like, and it's really cool and good to see from Frankie's level or Davies is like, okay, when you can do these really cool or like, show glimpses of greatness during the week, like that's where it's like, okay, he's got the greatness in him. Where now we need to refine him to do that now during the week every day, but then transition it from every week and every day during the week to on Saturday night. And you guys have done a great job with that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's pretty much exactly how it went. Like last year in the off season, there was days where I was just as fast as everyone else at the test track. And then there's days where I was off, and that was different this off season. I was there every single day. There was no bad days. There was nothing that was like, oh, he's a second and a half off to stay. Like we should start thinking about something where this off season, it was like every day was almost perfect. And it was just a matter of if I could bring that on Saturday. And I feel like we did a lot better of that this year, just bringing that same mentality and same thing we do during the week to Saturdays.
Mm-hmm. Dude, and the maturity level, like that helps. Like it's tough to be like, hey, you can do it during the week, but how come you can't do it on the weekend? Yeah. And some guys are able to transition and make that happen sooner. And that's what it's all about is just executing on the weekend and riding the way you can ride. Because if you can do it during the week, you should be able to do it on the weekend.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Juju, do you ever think so? First of all, do you like when we call it what would you rather go by, Juju or Julien?
Either one. I think Juju's a little more catchy, so it helps a little bit, but I say Juju probably.
All right, just making sure that I can relay the message. We don't want to be because I kind of go like back and forth, and I'm like, well, what if he doesn't like that? All right, that's good to know. So, how much, like I always tell people, like my story would have been like from 97 to 98. Those are 97 was my first year. You weren't born until
Nope.
When were you born?
06.
06, guy.
My first year pro.
06.
Oh, you feel old, RV?
I just got gray right here. A bunch of it.
I jack with Davey all the time.
That's right, dude. That's what we were talking about when I saw you at Dr. G's. You're like, Dr. G was like, I don't even think he was born for that year, because we were talking about when I crashed in St. Louis, and you're like, I was born in 2006. I'm like, holy crap, dude. But no, like how much you learn from your first year to the second year. And I just remember like I feel like when I watch you now, like in time qualifying practice, like even let's just talk about this year, Anaheim, and then this weekend, it just looks like everything, all the pieces of the puzzle have come together, and you look so comfortable, dude. Like it's like I watch like RV. I've been impressed with him. He doesn't even look like he's trying. Obviously, I know he's trying, but it looks like it comes relatively smooth to you, Juju.
Yeah, and even in like the main event last night, when I was behind Davies, I was perfectly fine with where I was at. The only
Yep.
thing, obviously, like you said, I didn't want to do what I did with Shimoda and let him get a little bit of that gap and then him settle in and be fine. And that's where we had worked a lot on like me attacking at the halfway point in training. And I looked up the lap I passed him. I looked up at the clock over the triple before the sand section, and I looked up at the clock and I seen 8:40, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we got to go now. Like we can't wait any longer." And that's when I made the pass and I tried to get away, and then I almost settled in there. Like I was in a good spot. I had tabs on Smith. I knew when he was catching, and I think there was one lap. Even you said it in the broadcast. There was one lap where he was doing that triple quad, and he came back, I think, to like 2.1 seconds.
Yeah.
And my mechanic put on the pit board, "You need to go."
Yeah.
And so I put down, I think, two pretty good laps. I got back to like 3.5, 3.8, and felt like I was pretty good from there.
Yeah, exactly. You did. Like, I was like, oh, he's like, he had kind of closed it up to like 2 seconds. Yeah. And then you brought it back exactly to like 3 and 3.6 or something like that. And then just held steady. It was,
was your main line that triple quad, or I think we have replay of it on the show here that you were going double, triple, double, or single into the turn, one of the two. What did you hit the quad?
I did it in practice, but I never jumped in the main event.
And from the replay shot that we have on the show, it looked like, I think it was Smith and you went double, he was going the triple quad. Like, to me, it didn't, in that specific scenario there, it didn't look like it was maybe a 10th to go faster, because you were pushing through the double really good. And then the triple, you were pushing through that too. Tires were more on the ground. Obviously, you had then options to be able to go inside before the triple or rail the berm. I know we had talked about it. Some guys were like, "Man, I wish we didn't have this big quad." I mean, what was your feelings on it?
I didn't mind the quad. I looked at it. I mean, I was gonna jump it if I had to jump it. That wasn't like, it wasn't worrying me. But I had dart fished it earlier in the day, and we knew it wasn't that big of a difference. Like, even if I had to go double, triple, double, it wasn't terrible. So I decided, like, I looked at it on the side lap, and the corner was pretty beat up. And I was honestly like, second lap when Davies went for it, I was like, wow, we're going to have to jump this thing. And but when I realized it wasn't too much slower, I was like, yeah, I'll just stay inside. And even the lap I passed him, I was like, he's setting up that corner so much to do the 3 in that I knew that if I got close enough, I'd be able to dive down the inside and there'd be nowhere for him to go. And so that was like my focus on, if I can keep this going and just try to force him into making that mistake and going out that wide when I'm close, I can make the pass there.
Yeah, it just looked like you were able to push through that rhythm session going double, triple, double, like, and then obviously those dudes were getting massive airtime, right? So that you were able to stay on the ground and gain a little bit, or even send it off of that double into the turn, into the berm if you were going to go outside, jumping deep into there. It seemed like it was very, very similar, very close in times, but then you had options because you could go inside or outside. You know, if you're jumping the triple or the quad, typically everybody was fading to the outside just because of the corners, the entry speed that you had off of the quad.
Yeah, for sure. And I never went to that inside. The only thing that caught me off guard was one lap. I think there was like 3 laps left. And I got a little off balance in that right-hander after the quad. And I drug my entire shoulder on, like, the lights on the side of the triple. Drug my hand and shoulder on the side of the thing. I was like, yeah, we can't do that anymore.
Let's
not do this. That one scared me a little bit. I was like, all right, nah, like, we need to be careful here. But yeah, that was the triple quad. I wasn't too worried about it.
Sweet.
Good. That's interesting. I liked your line. I thought it was good. And for the record, I don't like quads. I don't think they should be on the track. I just think like the risk factor is just too much. And that thing was big, dude. Like, watching you guys in real life, I was telling RV, like, because he wasn't at the race, I'm like, watching it in real life, because I was down on the track watching you guys' first time practice. And I'm like, that thing is big, dude. If somebody messes up, it's going to be bad. So.
Yeah, and even in qualifying, when I first did it, it was like I'd watched press and they were jumping it pretty easy, so I wasn't like too worried about it. And I went 3, I went 4, and I was just like way too confident I was gonna make it. He didn't give it enough, and I was in the air. I was like, I'm dead for sure.
Really?
I saved it. I saved it, but I came back and Seth, he does all of our film and everything. He goes, I've never seen someone jump a quad and then case a quad so confidently in my life. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I was in the air and there was nothing I could do at that point.
Yeah, no, you're stuck.
Yeah.
That's right. Nothing you could. You're a passenger in the sky, brother. Well, dude, congratulations on your first of what I can only assume will be many. You've been super impressive. Your story is incredible of how you got to where you were, outside even of your jet ski career. So everyone listening, or if you're watching this podcast, go check him out if you don't know his story. I mean, we've talked about it millions of times, but dude, the way you've done it and how impressive you've been, congratulations on that first win, my friend.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Just good kid. I love his demeanor. Love what he brings to the table. His story is incredible. It is incredible. Yeah, just the being able. I mean, RV, you and I raced dirt bikes our whole life. We didn't have any distractions with other sports. I mean, this kid was doing both, right? That's what's so impressive to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, stand-up jet ski. I think they're originally from out by the Havasu area.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously you've rode one, Ricky, I've rode one. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have rode one because it kind of correlates with a motorcycle, but yeah, completely different sport. Rode dirt bikes, obviously in the desert and some track stuff, but it was majority of it was stand-up jet ski. I think he's a world champ or a champ in stand up in his own right there, and then to come to a whole different sport and now get his first win, and potentially championship, you know, and throughout his career of racing Supercross and motocross, that would be a really, really cool story and transition, you know, to being a professional in two different disciplines.
Haiden, third place. Dude, he gets buck wild in the whoops in the heat race, crashes, almost runs into his teammate, Cole Davies. Where are you at, dude? Where are you at with Haiden?
I was just going to ask you, are we not, I wouldn't say hitting the panic button. I was going to ask you, Ricky, but are we reevaluating our situation based on how well, and how much he's won prior to leading into this, right? Like, I part of me feels like I think that the trend that he was on was going to keep going. That was kind of their thought. And I'm not saying he has put any less or more work in based on what he did, you know, last year, SMX and outdoors and all of that. But like we had talked about 3 weeks ago, like it's a different mentality when you're that guy, Jett or Hunter, that has won a lot. There's no roadmap to where to set the bar next and how high. And I think guys, all the rest of the field, they know where they're going. They know that Haiden has set the bar. So I feel like that has helped the rest of the riders, but also I said it on one of the shows too, that, hey, who is the next guy that's going to creep in and knock me off that top of the step? You know, I don't want to say insecurity, but all athletes are a little are a little insecure to a certain point. I don't care how mentally strong you are. I feel like I was a pretty damn mentally strong racer and won a lot of races, but still, you know, did I do enough? Am I fit enough? Is the bike good enough? You know, all of those little things. And everybody else, they don't even worry about that. They're just worrying about going faster and how can we bridge the gap to Haiden. And I kind of feel like, what do you feel like? Do you feel like that a little bit of that?
To answer your first question, I don't know that I'm hitting the panic button yet, but my finger is like getting ready, you know, and it's like, it's crazy. I do think that the other guys have stepped up because just like they have in the 450 class, I think that Jett has, when you're at this level, okay, the top guy is here. The guys below them have a bigger gap to fill, which it's easier to go, in my opinion, from here to here rather than from here to there. So I think what's happened is in the 450 class, the level has raised up. And I think now in the 250 class, the level has raised up. And so there's more competition, there's more challenges going on. And so I don't say that I'm panicked yet, but I will say that I am surprised 120%. I think the speed is good, but it just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't think that he's hurt. I know they work hard on their craft. They're very open and receptive to, always trying to be better despite how talented he is. But at the end of the day, like now he's getting challenges that were unforeseen. Maybe when I say that, meaning like guys have stepped up. Maybe he's not winning, kind of like what you talked about, RV. Like, hey man, there's like, do I still have it? Have I done enough? Like now he's going to maybe experience stuff like this. And that's different. That's different than trying to go out and race faster and get your bike working better. That space between the ears is, it's powerful. It can be powerful in a positive way, and it can be powerful in a negative way. And so, I mean, I have to sit back and we have to sit back and watch and see how he reacts to the situation that he's in. I don't think it's a fun situation, but he says he likes challenges. So now he's being right.
And I also think a little bit is I think I lost my train of thought now. Perfect.
Well, no, like, so dude, he does his own thing. He loves when people talk crap.
That's where I was going with it. That's where I was going with it. As I think a lot of the other athletes too, all of our 250 other racers, they are used to what Hayden's throwing out now from his podium speeches. Like, it's not something new, right? Like, he's been on the scene now for a year, 2 years, won races. Now guys are like, you know what? Like, he's beatable. I know we can beat him. Now we've heard all the song and noise and the dance over here. Like, maybe we were, I think a lot of guys were like, dude, I don't like his persona and his program and what he's throwing out there. Well, now it's like, hey, guess what? He's here to stay, and you either figure it out or you don't. And I feel like now some of these guys have raised the bar, and they're like, you know what? Like, he can do that if he wants, but they're used to it now. They're used to him being on the scene. And I think that might help some of those other riders too.
Yeah. We're good. I mean, I'm to the point now, just like, all right, let's see what you got. You know what I mean? I will say, I think I talked about it with Lee on the, because he asked me on the post-race show. I'm like, where are you at with Deegan? I'm like, I didn't, I'm just like, I got to see something at this stage, And
I think right now his starts are killing him. Like, he's got to get off of the line, right?
If you did, come back from a start, dude.
Yep.
I mean, you did. I did. Like,
I mean,
if you are the man, you come from a 5th, 6th, 7th place start, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. You got to make quick moves and
get it on.
We're two races in, so
yeah. Well, we're gonna see what he can do this weekend. Last week's guest on Title 24 and Anaheim winner 250, Sushi he had some bad luck this week.
Got jacked up, bro.
Oh, dude. So watch his hand right here going through. This is practice. And he gets hit by a pit board. And you saw, did you see some of the posts and how gnarly it was? I think he broke his two fingers, definitely a finger. Outside of all that, I hate that for him. I mean, you talk about going from, just this massive balloon and things are rising. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to tell you, I was so bummed for him. And I didn't think there was question that maybe he wouldn't even ride, but I'm glad that he tried. And I thought it was a gutsy, very strong, determined ride by Joe to race with that. I'm just bummed for him, dude. I'm so bummed for him.
Yeah, it's a bad deal, right? It's a bad deal. It's as we know, pit board areas and where the mechanics stand. Part of that is like, dude, what how all these mechanics know how close us riders ride next to the tough blocks. I mean, sometimes we'll ride on them, right? Like
hell yeah, I've ridden on plenty of them, brother.
Yeah, you've ridden on plenty of them, and so I feel very, I feel bad for him on the side of that. It had nothing to do with Joe. right? Like that is the race line, right where we're watching. You can see it's magnified. He hits the pit board right there. You know, on one hand, it could have been worse, right? Like that pit board was laying flat.
Dude, could you imagine what
if it cut off?
I said that to a couple people yesterday, Mike. Dude, that would have been, dude. Yeah. Hey, another reason why don't we have comms, dude? Like, get out of town, man. It's time. It's time.
Yeah. It's a bummer. It's a bummer that he goes from a high of Anaheim winning with his previous season, you know, previous last few seasons, not starting well and finishing better towards the end of each of those two seasons, you know, call it 24 and 23. And then coming out firing on all cylinders, getting a win at Anaheim 1, and then going to San Diego and having that happen in practice is a huge bummer for sure.
Yeah. Hey, before we go on the quad lock question of the week, this is cool because this dude had a fantastic ride this weekend. Russ 219, what will it take for Cole Davies to find the next level for him to finish what he starts? Take it away, RV. What's it going to take?
Dude, I think he's found that level. I think he's a front runner. I think mentally he knows he's got the speed now, and the technique. I mean, I had a brief chance of working with Cole right when he came over to do futures.
And SMX next. Remember, you gotta get. I'm gonna go the principal block.
SMX next. SMX next. This was, I guess, this would have been
what? I
don't know,
22.
Yeah, the first time he rode SMX next. So I had a short time. I went out. Ben, our good buddy Ben, called me Townley, and he's like, "Hey, this kid's coming over. I know you're local in California. He's like, I want you to work with him at least to get him started in Supercross, like the hard pack stuff, the Corona clay style of track out here." And so I went out and got to work with him. Great mom and dad. Cole's a great kid too, but I think he's there. Good. I think he's there from a speed standpoint. I think that the maturity isn't there just yet, obviously. And kind of what we just talked with Juju, you know, like, if he keeps on this trajectory of where he's going now, and where he's at, and then next year, can you imagine just the maturity level of him understanding how this all works? He's making a name for himself right now, so he's not going to be the rookie next year. So I have high hopes for him. I think he's going to. I could see him, put it this way. I could see him potentially getting a win this year, if not fighting for those wins like he did at San Diego.
Yep, I think he's I think just a few more, just a little bit more experience being in them situations. He gets great starts. He looks like a completely different guy on the bike. He looks like he has more strength compared to last year when I was watching him in the SMX next. Great stuff, Russ. I second what RV said. I think he's there. Just being in those situations, situations is going to be making them that much better. All right, moving on to everyone's favorite segment of the show is the quad lock question of the week. Why do you guys like it? Because this is where we give away swag, or we don't give away anything. Quad lock does. The winner of this week is Bryce Poston. I love this. I can't wait we are going to absolutely fire up some. I know I am with my answer. We're going to fire up some privateers. So with bikes being so good nowadays, how important is a factory ride? If we put Jett, Eli, or Chase on a well-built privateer bike, would they still do well? Congratulations, Bryce. You are the winner of the quad lock question of the week. Slide into the DM. JH will put you in contact with Quad Lock, and they will send you some swag. And when you get it, we know that you will like it. Give him a shout out on the gram. So, all right, what do you think of Bryce's? What do you think, RV?
Well, I'm gonna go with Eli because he obviously dropped Eli's name into that. I see Chase also, but I'm gonna go with the Yamaha at this point, right? Eli, Yamaha, YZ450. We all know how much power that motorcycle makes just stock. So the beauty of our sport is it still comes down to a massive amount of it is still the rider. I don't care what team, what bike you're on. Now, when it comes to take Eli off of factory, off the Star bike and have him build his own motorcycle because you have access to factory suspension, you have access to a lot of the factory, call it similar factory parts. It's not what Yamaha or Honda or anything. It's not like you can go to the front desk at KTM and say, hey, can I get Chase's engine hangers? But there's companies out there that are chasing after the same thing the factories do. So that being said, if Eli was on his own motorcycle, would he have been able to go through the pack like he did at San Diego and win that race? I'm not going to go out on that far out on the limb and say he's going to be able to win on that motorcycle, but I bet your ass he is in the top 5. I
would say easy. He's top 5 for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
so
I agree.
Yep. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of our sport. Yes. Does it come down to the team, the personnel, the motorcycle? Yes, it does. But it's still more the percentage still on the rider is bigger with the rider than it is the motorcycle.
And the crazy thing is, dude, dude, factory stuff is awesome when it's working great. And I think it's sometimes compared to stock, it is sometimes track subjective.
Yep.
I think that there are tracks that maybe some less reinforced suspension and clamps and things of that nature don't work as good because it's not as compliant, like RV has said. So like imagine having a stiff chassis and you're on a hard packed track and then you go bolt on factory stuff and it's that much stiffer. Well, then maybe that softer, more compliant stuff is better. So I think that the factory riders, and I am in support of my co-host RV on this. You put them on a decent privateer bike, and I think they do better than what you think. 120%. I'll bet the farm on it, dude.
Yep, no, for sure. And I think okay, great. Like you might have not some engine package, things that from a factory standpoint, so it's going to hinder you maybe on the start a little bit here or there. But let's use outdoors for an example. You take a 38-minute moto, and Eli starts because we've seen Freddie Noren pull hole shots. We've seen guys on these motorcycles, on privateer motorcycles, pull hole shots. So if he gets a good start, then he's staying there, and if not, he's going to the front. Like I truly believe that.
Okay, so yep, it is the rider 100%, and I don't say 100%, but 95%. Okay, let's just role play. What's the delta if you take a mid privateer, okay, and you put him on Eli's bike, Jett's bike, Chase's bike, and then you take that same, and then you take those guys and you put him on that privateer's bike. Who does better? Does the privateer do 5 spots better, and then the Chases of the world, the Elis and Jetts and Hunters and everybody and Kenny, do they fall 5 positions? Like, what's the delta, you think? What better?
I think you take a privateer and you put him on a factory motorcycle. I think that sure, he very well could improve, but I think it's the other way around. I think you take Eli, put him on a privateer bike. He's going to do better than the privateer on the factory team. And why I say privateer on the factory team is now you have, it's not just the motorcycle we're talking about. It's the pressure of the team and having these teams, having the rider, all the personnel, the semi behind you. I mean, just through our career, and my career, and I know yours, RC, like there's been guys that have popped into a factory ride, but can't handle the factory pressure.
100%. There are people there that are better on a privateer team than a factory team. 100%. I'm not naming names. I can think of 2 right off the top of my head.
Yep. And then let me ask you this. What do you think the split is? Do you think it's a 60-40, 60% rider, 40% bike, 70-30?
Oh, no, I think no, dude. I think it's more. I think
50-50?
No, not 50. I think it's no, I think it's more. No, I think it's 65, 35. I think
65% the rider.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a 60, 40,
You go
70, 30
40,
split right there. Somewhere right there where, you take everybody and you put them and you just throw all those names and have them fall on different motorcycles, obviously the same manufacturer that they're used to. And I think that the factory guys can make these production bikes run up front. I mean, we see Kevin Moran's, we see Freddie Noren in outdoors anyways. They put him up front, and that's on their skill level. Now take Eli's skill level and put him on that bike.
That's what I'm saying, dude. When forever, and we could have Joey Savacci on here and talk about it. Like he would always he'd be like, "That's so funny. You ride Supercross with stock stuff, basically stock everything for the most part. Like nothing that and I just liked it. It was better for me, and I was close to pace for the most part. I can tell you this much: if they put factory stuff, I'd probably be more uncomfortable. That's for sure." So there you go. Congratulations, Bryce. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody, dude. I'm going to tell you right now, the fan interaction has been incredible this season on Title 24. JH fields out all the questions. So sorry if your guys' question if your question didn't get answered, we're blaming JH on that. Remember, we got the live show. Again, go to Title 24 liveshow.eventbrite.com to sign up. Location against Dunlop Motorcycles, Tires, and Rancho Cucamonga. $20 to join. Doors open up at 5. Drinks, food, great times, stories. Again, last year was absolutely epic. We'll be telling some stories that maybe some of you guys have never heard, giving opinions. Ryan Dungey is going to be a special guest. I think some other riders will be there as well and support. Just a good time. You guys get to meet Ryan and I and some of the other old pros that we raced with that, and spend some intimate time. Ryan and I are glad to do that, and all of our partners. So make sure you do that. We'll send a link via our social media. As far as that goes, more stuff cracking in the week as far as SMX. We got the SMX Insiders with Weege and JT. That's 2 p.m. Eastern time. For the schedule this weekend, Saturday, 3 p.m., race day live, practice qualifying. That's live on Peacock. Check that out. And then we're 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Will be the Supercross Round 3 at Anaheim on Peacock live. So there you go. Appreciate everybody. Julian, thanks a ton. Appreciate that. Right, RV? That was
thank you. Really good.
That was good. Right. What you got cracking the rest of the day?
Oh, I'm headed to headed to Vegas in about, 2 hours or so. I don't know, sooner than that, probably hour and a half or so. For the SHOT Show for Yamaha. We at Yamaha has a presence at the SHOT Show, so I'll be up in Vegas today, tomorrow, and headed home Wednesday midday, and then back on mini bikes, buddy.
Dude, some weird stuff's happening. You ready for this?
Yeah.
They're saying it's supposed to snow here in Tallahassee tomorrow.
Really?
Yep. It's 22 degrees tomorrow night. It's going to be 25 tonight. So
has it ever snowed? And if it has,
it has nothing substantial. But dude, so check the Instagram out. It's a weird time, so I'm gonna be doing my cardio inside. I was really hoping to get out and do some rides this week, but that ain't happening. I'm not a cold weather guy. But,
no way.
No,
you don't have to.
No, that's right. So thank you to all of our partners, United Motorsports, Quad Lock, Boxo, and Dunlop. We look forward to seeing everybody this Thursday again at the live show. That's going to be a great time. Thanks for all the support. Remember, you can always check us out, Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, as well as Peacock. We're on demand there, and then all of the podcast platforms were there if you want to listen to us just by audio. RV, have a good trip to Vegas.
Yep.
Be thinking about me in the snow here tomorrow, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Sounds good, buddy.
See you guys.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.